Thank you for taking me. Currently, we are engaged in the rehabilitation activities after relief is over. Now, we have a large terrain which is rugged and which is difficult to reach out. And that is creating us trouble for rehabilitation. However, we have enhanced our capacities and we are increasing collaboration with our partners so that the rehabilitation work is done well in time before the commence of winter, which is very much harsh in these areas. So we are gathering our energies to build up any kind of plan which will be equally acceptable to community, the government, and the partner organizations, so that it is useful for the harsh winters, and we will be providing them shelter before the commence of winter harshness. So this is our top priority, and we are engaging the partners. Uh, some local organizations are also coming forward, and there are some national organizations which have approached our office for helping us in this challenging job. Because the reason of this devastation is climate change, and the climate change we are suffering is that due to carbon emissions, and we have no part in carbon emissions. Just we are the victims, we are the receiving end. So we request the world, particularly the signatories of Paris Agreement, which clearly delineates that the rich countries which are responsible for carbon emission must help financially and technically developing countries which are not so much economically sound to make the communities resilient and adaptable. So we request the world who are emitting this carbon must take care of this global warming so that the communities living in these rugged areas and the glacial outburst phenomenon, cloudburst, all the vulnerabilities are here, and the hazard is day and night here. So people are insecure due to this glacial melt and the cloud burst. So we request the NGOs and the donors and the people, philanthropists to come and help the communities build their shelters in safer places. So this is our top priority, and we are thankful for the support and cooperation so far they have extended, and we hope that they will continue this support. And the government is coming forward, and all the organizations like communication, like electricity, like irrigation system, government is putting all its energies and efforts, and we are equally looking for the help of our philanthropists and the organizations who are well in this disaster management phenomenon. So we are expecting some good cooperation from the partner organizations. Yeah, of course, this was the start when 22nd of July received a cloud burst. Unfortunately, on the way to Babusar, which was linking KP with GB. So unfortunately, we lost some 10 our tourists who were traveling from down country to these areas for some respite from the heat wave down country. But unfortunately, the will of God be done. So this cloud burst took 17 lives, six local and 11 tourists. And that was starting point for this unfortunate wave of this human loss. And it took to the number of 41. And we have more than 51 injured persons. Beside these life loss, we have some 1,200 houses which were badly affected, and out of these 1,200 plus houses, we have 800 plus houses which are completely obliterated, and they have been buried under the debris and the mud floor, which is not in kind of livable or reconstructed in those places. So The main challenge, as I said earlier, is to build them a respectable shelter where they could live with their families and continue their normal life. So this is the outside of this the devastation which has caused to irrigation system. We have lost about billions of rupees in terms of fruit market down slow, and we have lost our grassy fields, we have lost our wheat, our maize, everything has been devastated. So this is huge and historic. We cannot imagine such kind of devastation, but still we are struggling to cope up this and fill this devastation. But it is possible only when we gather together as human beings and help out our brethren who are in difficult times and hard times. Well, we are thinking to revisit our policies and our plans, contingency plans. So, as you know, the idea of people first impact method is now in the vogue, and in Zimbabwe, in other countries like Nepal, where they have already practiced people first impact method approach, meaning thereby we are now trying to put community in the center and make the things according to their needs. Because when we make some policies which are not evidence based, then they are definitely, they have some lessons which we must not repeat in future. For example, we have no such laws which prohibit construction of houses which are in the vulnerable places. Now we have seriously taken this into our account, that these houses, at least the population must not go near these nalas and these streams which are prone to hazards and which are near the glaciers, because there is a glacier and there is a global warming. We cannot stop it. Just we have to adapt ourselves and we have to change our lives styles. So there is a traditional saying that you should not go uh, just downside of any river, because river can anytime change its route, and this is happening around us, and this is the reason that we have incurred all these losses. So we are trying to make laws which are prohibiting these things, and we are trying to remove the encroachments as well from the river sides. So this is one side of policy. Besides this, we are trying to approach the donors and the development partners who will build resilient buildings and structures which can resist these bursts, and at least lesson can be the loss. We cannot, as I said, we cannot completely stop this because it is a natural phenomenon, but at least we can take some steps which can minimize or mitigate the losses. So we are working on disaster risk reduction. Before we were doing only management. There's a disaster and we were managing it. But now we are, after Sendai agreement, we are aligned to the system of disaster risk reduction. And we are taking all things as a holistic approach. For example, plantation can be a good option for reducing these erosions. So we are trying to go for slope stabilization, because there is slopey area throughout GB, and unless these slopes are stabilized, there is a risk of sliding. There is some heat wave and there is some cloud burst, then there is a devastation. So the only way to mitigate is to mass plantation like tsunami, billion tsunami tree, these kind of carbon credits for people from the companies who are creating this carbon emission. They should give incentives to the communities so that they will not cut the trees, because they should come with some hydropower, some solar energy options, so that the people who are relying on the forest cutting, they will avoid it. So when there is no alternative, then they will go for cutting trees. So governments, as you know, are not so economically sound that they should stop cutting without giving them any alternative. This can be done through rich countries. This can be done through the NGOs, the United Nations organizations who are supposed to work on disaster risk reduction, UNDRR. So there are organizations, but they should approach these areas because now we are a global village, not Gilgit-Baltistan. If Gilgit-Baltistan is affected, definitely Punjab will be affected, and so on. So this is a chain reaction, and we should put our energies together to compete this global warming and the effects and the impacts of this climate change. Only then we can minimize. Rich countries can adapt, they can be resilient because they will receive less impact. But we will be more prone to losses due to our economic conditions and the lesser adaptive ways. So we should work for the pathways which will save us from the much losses, not all losses. We cannot avoid all losses, but we can minimize it.